Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. Before we get started, please click subscribe to my channel to keep up with all of my latest investing and personal finance content. And please check out the link you see on your screen where you can get a special offer from our sponsor, The Motley Fool. You can get the top 10 stocks to buy right now. So, there are two common myths about Social Security that I'd like to get rid of. One of the myths is that Social Security's reserves were raided by the government and there's actually no money in the trust funds. And number two is that Social Security is in such bad shape, it's not going to be around at all in 20, 30, whatever years. So we'll start with the trust funds. There's some truth to that myth that there's no money in the trust funds. Social Security's trust fund isn't just a barrel of money sitting there, it's not a barrel of cash. Social Security, like any responsible financial custodian, invests its money, specifically in Treasury securities. These are backed by the full credit of the US government and they pay a little bit of interest. In 2021 alone, Social Security generated about $70 billion worth of interest because of the investments in its trust fund. At the end of 2021, there was a little over $2.85 trillion in reserves. Again, not a pile of cash, all in the form of Treasury securities. So the bad news is that Social Security spent more than it brought in. In 2021, it spent about $1.15 trillion and brought in about 1.09 trillion. There was a total of a $56 billion deficit in Social Security in 2021. And the really bad news is that this is supposed to get even bigger over time. The deficits are paid out of those reserves. So after 2021, at the start of the year, the reserves were over 2.9 trillion. 56 billion of that went towards funding the program, not towards generating interest. So the latest projections predict that Social Security's reserves are going to be down to about 1.25 trillion within 10 years and be completely depleted in 2034. There are a few reasons for this accelerated depletion of resources. Number one is that Social Security relies on interest income to fund some of its program. As its reserves drop, it's generating less interest. But most of all, the baby boomer generation is a massive generation, is just in the process of reaching retirement age now. And as they do, the short version of it is that there won't be enough people paying into Social Security compared to how many people are receiving benefits. So that's what's expected to result in significant shortfalls. And so what happens then? If Social Security runs out of money, it, keep in mind that if it runs out of money, it's still bringing in tax revenue. Anyone who works is paying Social Security tax. So, and it still gets taxed on some Social Security benefits and has a few other little sources of income. But there is still going to be money coming into Social Security. It would be enough to cover about 80% of benefits that are promised to retirees. So, worst case scenario, Social Security is allowed to run out of money. Social Security checks would get about a 20% cut. It wouldn't go away completely. It wouldn't be good news for retirees by any stretch of the imagination, but it wouldn't go away completely. So, the other good news is Social Security can still be fixed. Their the latest report says that Social Security would need to raise our payroll taxes, which are Social Security taxes, by 3.24% in order to make up the shortfall. Currently, payroll taxes are 12.4%, half of which is paid by the employer, half of which is paid by employees. So it would be about a 1.6% boost on both sides, and it would make the program completely solvent. That's not a very popular idea. It's really hard to sell tax increases to the American public, especially across the board tax increases. So there are a few other things we could do, but the longer we wait to make changes, the more drastic the changes are going to have to be. It's a lot easier to solve the problem while there's still almost $3 trillion in reserves than it would be when there's zero. So, other solutions are to raise payroll taxes just on high earners. We could increase the full retirement age. Currently, it's 67 for people born in 1960 and later. You could raise that to 68 or even 70. There are a few different ways we could fix Social Security, but the sooner we act, the better it's going to be. So hopefully this cleared up a few of the common myths about Social Security. And we see that Social Security may go broke in about 12 years, but it doesn't necessarily mean the program is going to go away. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to click subscribe if you don't subscribe to my channel already. And as always, this video is sponsored by The Motley Fool. Be sure to visit www.fool.com/Frankel to receive the top 10 best stocks to buy now.